Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We are coming to you from Lake Chickamauga. We're in southeast Tennessee. We're on the Tennessee River, and this place is known for big bass. Hang with me, let's see if we can go catch one of those big ones. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Welcome to Lake Chickamauga. It is an incredible lake. It's a famed lake. It's probably the best all-around lake in the state of Tennessee, maybe in the southeast. We are in southeastern Tennessee. We're in Ray County. We are in Dayton, Tennessee. We're actually at Dayton Boat Dock. Chickamauga has developed a reputation over the last few years of a big bass fishery, and that's due to the extensive management and the introduction and just incredible reproduction of Florida strain largemouth. The lake's about 68 miles long. It was impounded in 1940, a little over 36,000 surface acres. But what it is an impoundment of the Tennessee River that is just a gift from the Lord above. It's in between Watts Bar, Nickajack, TVA, Power, Current, offshore structure, lots of vegetation, big bass. We're going to show you all that today and more. We're also going to get you some reports from your local inside reporter of what's going on in your immediate region. So we got some stuff to get together. When we do this, we're going to get out there, show you some big fish, I hope. But while we're at it, I'm going to send you back to the FSN studios for your weekend planner.
Great news, everyone. The Solunar tables have indicated that this weekend will offer 2 days of solid fishing. Saturday's conditions are forecast as good, with morning action beginning around 8:51 and evening activity starting around 9:16. Sunday's game fish activity is listed as excellent. Look for those prime times to begin at 9:39 in the morning and 10:04 in the evening. Watch for the sun to rise at 6:24 and set at 8:41. Expect to see a moon that is only 14% visible. Hang with us for freshwater and coastal information from around the region. Plus, MLF angler Mark Daniels Jr. joins us to answer this week's Ask the Pro question. We'll be right back.
This time of year is almost always just offshore fishing. And on Chickamauga, which is obviously a chain on the Tennessee River, that's all I ever have done this time of year. However, it's cooler than normal. There's been more rain than normal. There's a lot of current. The water's a little higher. On this lake, the water doesn't fluctuate like it does on some of the other TVA lakes. So what you're gonna see today is I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna fish some offshore stuff. I'm gonna fish some stuff in the creeks. I'm gonna fish shallow a little bit and try to kind of utilize all the scenarios to get kind of the best result I can. Everybody that knows me knows my passion is kind of offshore structure fishing, but I've just, with these conditions, I think I'm gonna have to throw in some shallow stuff, and so we're gonna get after it. I'm gonna ease out here and kind of graph a couple of spots, and we're gonna pull up on spot, get set up, and let's see if we can't put some fish in the boat.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lew's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland, the best in bass and crappie lures, heads to tails. Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Request our free 2019 fishing guide at orangebeach.com.
That fish is 6.5, maybe pushing 7. I mean, a big old giant. There's one right there. Yep. There you go. Right on the edge of that little river drop. Come on. Come on. I don't know how big he is, but he pulls hard. I'll take him. Right in the roof of the mouth. Fat fish. He's probably close to 3, heavy too. Let me throw this fish back here, and I'm gonna, come on. There we go, baby. You know, the thing about Chickamauga that's really awesome is these are primarily Florida strain bass. They have done an incredible job managing this lake. And by they, I mean Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency and the local tourism, all of the local anglers, all of the local organizations that are, you know, kind of bound to fishing in this area and tourism have really promoted an aggressive Florida strain stocking process, and it has just worked. That right there is probably a young fish in this lake, but you can see how healthy he is. They bite, they fight. Those Florida strains are real aggressive. You know, I've always heard they're a little more temperamental to weather, but I would take my chances with that, knowing that they grow so fast and they do bite really, you know, they're aggressive feeders, hence the reason they grow so fast. So we're in Tennessee, but we're catching Florida bass.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with your Fox Sports Louisiana Outdoor Report, coming to you from Cajun Paradise Lodge and Charters on Calcasieu Lake. Hey, well, we're going to start off talking about a little bayou a lot of you may not have heard of. It's called Black Bayou. It's in between Lake Charles and Orange, and it's right off the Intercoastal Canal. I'll tell you what, lots of bass getting caught there. Early and late seems to be the best, but I tell you what, it is a brackish water tributary. There's also lots of redfish. So if you go in there with some live shrimp, you're gonna catch not only black bass, but you're also gonna catch some redfish. Tell you what, let's turn it over to the deep sea. Snapper season's open right now. Everybody along the whole Texas, Louisiana Gulf Coast on the weekends, they're going to get them snapper. If you like the inshore, talk to them all the way from Hopedale to Houma, Delacroix, all the way here on Calcasieu. Speckled trout and redfish action is in full swing for summertime, so I tell you what, get out on the water. For Old Cajun Phil, I'm Captain Kevin Broussard saying happy fishing and may God bless.
What I've learned is the lake has come up quite a bit, and due to that, there's also a little color in the water. So I came in a couple of these creeks and I've caught a couple fish in here on channel swings and points. Right here is a little point that runs out. But I actually went to a worm over that jig, and that lighter color seems to be key. There's one right there. There's one. Oh, it feels like a big one too. Hang on. Oh, that's a giant. That's a giant. They always go to the wrong side of the boat. That's a 6-pounder every day, all day. Whew, thank you, Lord. As I was saying, there's some bigger ones in the creek. Oh, that never gets old. He even got my shirt in his mouth. That fish is 6.5, maybe pushing 7. I mean, a big old giant. I went to a piece of plastic on our tour grade mag jig head and just fishing these little creek ditches, little turns in the creek channel, and that is a big Chickamauga Florida strain largemouth. I'm gonna put her back, and honestly, I'm gonna catch my breath for a second. About every bite I've had today has come on a football jig, a 3/4 or 1 ounce jig, just depending on where I've been and how the current has been. There you go. Whew. Oh, big plug. Well, get docked a point or two for that deal. Man, about every bite I've had today has come on a football jig, a 3/4 or 1 ounce jig, just depending on where I've been and how the current has been. But I graphed a big wad of bait, and I had a couple of them hit that jig when I was reeling it in, and let me let him go. There's a little lesson in that. If you're ever, I love to fish a jig. I grew up on Kentucky Lake on Tennessee River. I love to fish a jig on offshore structure. And most of your bites are gonna come on the bottom. You feel that jig hitting the bottom, you know, that rough, rocky stuff, and then dunk, it either loads up or you just, you know, you don't feel it anymore. You'll know, the sensation just changes. But there are these days like that, what just happened right there is a perfect example of it. I was, you know, fish my jig out as far as I was going to, and then I'd go to reel it in and poof, one would hit it, but they wouldn't get it. And a lot of times those fish, when you start reeling that jig, you actually bring it up into, you know, where they are. If they're suspended up off the bottom, and they kind of hit it wild and they just don't get it. Sometimes you do get them, but oftentimes when that happens a few times, one of the best things you can do is pick up an old big crankbait. And this is a 8XD. And this is citrus shad color. I'm throwing it, one of the things I want to tell you about this is a 9-foot, this is a David Fritz perfect crankbait rod, and I throw it on the Super Duty reel. These big crankbaits like this, the 8XD, the 10XD, even the 6XD, sometimes people talk about how hard they are to fish. The truth is, they're really not that bad. You get real used to it if you have the right equipment. And this rod and this reel is perfect.
Hey folks, Captain Greg Varm here for this week's Fox Southwest Outdoors Report. Hey, let's start this week's report down in the Lower Laguna Madre. I just got off the phone with Captain Wayne Davis. He's been on the water every single day, and Captain Wayne says the tides have finally receded, which has a fish staging along the small ledges and the grass lines. The flats are loaded up with bait fish, specks, and redfish, but hey, it fades by 9 a.m. Get on those flats early. After 9 a.m., switch over to your deep grass beds in 4 to 6 foot of water. Small top waters, work them early. Then switch over to your K-Wiggler ball tail shads on 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce lead head. Hey, now let's move over to Baffin. Captain Chris Elliott says fish either early in the morning or late in the evening. Water temps are way high, so work your deeper grass flats with mixed potholes. Also, Captain Chris says pay extremely close attention to your bottom machine's water temperature reading. Hey, finding only water 1 degree cooler makes a huge difference. Hey, remember, if you want to fish inshore or offshore, Galveston or Freeport, hey, give me a call. I'd love to have you aboard. I'm Captain Greg Varm. I'll see you next time.
Hi everybody, this week's Lone Star Lakes is brought to you by the Old Place Cabins. Located on the banks of Lake Nakanish in East Texas, the Old Place is a great place to relax when you're off the water on the lake. Now this week we've come to Lake Worth, where there is a great bass bite going on. You'll want to go under the 199 bridge all the way back up into the riverine part of the lake and look for your grasses and pads. Start your day with those topwater baits that'll come over those pads. Maybe a buzz bait, but even better, a frog in the hollow body or ribbit frog type. Keep a jig handy so you can hit the openings as well, and that'll get you some big bass on Lake Worth. Recent spring flooding has made access to many of our lakes difficult. Texoma is one of those. It's still about 8 feet high, but the striper fishing is off the hook. Go out, look on your main lake points, look early on topwaters. If you want some bigger fish, back off that same point to the deeper ledges around the 25 to 30 foot area. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by the Old Place Cabins. Be sure and check us out on Facebook, Lone Star Lakes.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by MotorGuide's wireless and easy-to-use XI3. WAYPOINT Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. Strike King, Taiwan on. NITRO Performance Fishing Boats, because champions aren't born, they're made.
Right there is just a pretty nice bass right there. There's one right there. That boat running through there might have got that one fired up. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Where you at? A good 2.5 pounder. Just a pretty old Chickamauga bass. Let me talk to you a minute about what I'm doing. I'm catching these fish on a Strike King football jig, a 3/4 ounce football jig, and there's a lot of people, you know, I have a lot of people tell me for whatever reason that they just don't catch a lot of fish on a jig. They don't have a lot of confidence in a jig. The thing about jig fishing is it's pretty simple. Most of your bites come on the bottom. So if you're fishing offshore, like these creek mouths, I'm sitting out here in the river, I'm throwing shallow, I'm dragging it back deep, and I'm wanting to feel hard bottom. Hard bottom seems to be key. The grass, hydrilla, and stuff that's in this lake that makes it so good, the fish get around that, but your bass really key on hard bottom. I think there's more crawfish there, lots of other things, but hard bottom is the deal. And that big wide head of that football jig just bounces across that bottom. Matter of fact, you can see where I have literally just worn the paint off that jig.
Well, avid crappie anglers Kevin and Patty DeLong from Hominy couldn't stand it any longer. They had to go to Call Lake to see how the crappie fishing was there, although Call was still up almost 30 foot and had a lot of color to the water, not great visibility. Kevin said their best success came locating trees that had tops about 6 to 8 foot below the surface. When they found those, they would get on top, vertically fish, dropping Bobby Garland 3-inch slab slayers in Cajun cricket color and fishing that depth 6 to 8 foot below the surface. Mix it up with a jig head, I would say a chartreuse or a bright pink jig head put on there. And if you want to spice it up a little bit more to help those crappie zero in on them even better, add one of these little Bobby Garland crappie rattles, and you can add some noise to it as well. And you can catch them, but you can't catch them if you don't go.
That's a pretty good one. Right there is just a pretty nice bass right there. I'm throwing an old Strike King football jig with a rage crawl on it, and literally just stopped in the mouth of this creek. I'm kind of just feeling my way around this lake, and made just a couple casts, and I got to the edge of the grass line, hopped that jig up, and the line went slack, and that's exciting. Reeled down, swung, and just a pretty good one. Looks like he's been caught before. A lot of times, if you see that hole, you can tell, you know, something's had a hook stuck in his head. See that right there? He's fortunate because most bass fishermen are pretty conservation minded and they'll throw them back, and that'll heal up in time. But you know, when you come to a lake that you don't know that well, a lot of times if you see a spot on a map that like what this looks like, he just probably lives on a community hole. But the good news is I'm now part of the community.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and the follow button on Twitter, and watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free WAYPOINT TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Mercury, Go Boldly, Lowrance, America's #1 fish finder, Balls Out, made in the USA, heavy-duty mounts for your fish finders.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Ask the Pro segment, where viewers get expert answers from fishing's top anglers. This week's question comes from Brian, who asks, what are some things you can do to keep your engine running well? For the answer, we checked with Major League Fishing angler Mark Daniels Jr.
One thing that's really cool, you know, you can buy aftermarket fuel treatment. I use Quick Clean, you know, by Quicksilver, and that just keeps the fuel burning clean, gets rid of all that ethanol and some of those bad particles and water that gets into the gas a lot of different times. You know, we travel all over the country, so we encounter all sorts of gas. So just a little cap, half cap of that Quick Clean every trip makes a world of difference at the end, you know, the duration of your motor when you start talking 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Thanks, Mark. If you have something to ask one of our experts, simply visit the Fox Sports Outdoors homepage and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit your question. Now it's time to see who wins our Big Catch of the Week contest.
It's time for this week's Big Catch of the Week contest. This week's winner is Jan Malden of Gladewater, Texas, showing off her 11-pound, 6-ounce largemouth bass caught at Lake of the Pines, Texas. To enter the contest, go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/foxsportsoutdoors and add your photo along with the details of your catch to our most recent Tuesday Big Catch post. You could have your big fish shown right here on our show. You know, as far as gear you need to do what you've seen me do today, this is a lake that I honestly can't tell you that I know well. I've been here a few times, but it's literally been probably 10 years since I've put a boat in on Chickamauga, and it is it's a lake that's got a lot of offshore structure, and that's kind of what you saw me targeting today. And what I want to tell you as far as the gear you need, this Lowrance Elite 9 TI2 is a pretty awesome unit and an incredible value. The down scan, side scan, sonar, GPS is all awesome. It's super fast. The processor speed's really fast. But the real key that I want you to think about as far as gear you got to have to come here and do this is this Navionics card. Navionics is the chip that I've got in this unit that has all of the mapping, all of the contours. Essentially, I can put this card in and go to a lake I've never been before, and I can see where all that good structure is. I can see where all the boat lanes are. I can see where all the navigation hazards are. So if you're gonna come to a lake like Chickamauga and fish offshore, especially if you're unfamiliar with it, get you a Lowrance Elite 9 TI2 and get you a Navionics card. A scripture I really like is 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Give thanks in all things, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." And you know, we have so much to be thankful for, and sometimes it's really easy to forget that. You know, I'll be very honest with you today, there were just some lulls in the day, and I've been on the road a bunch and haven't been home with my family, and I'm really, you know, I just come to Chickamauga and I think I'm gonna crush the show, and it starts to get slow and I start to get frustrated, and then I kind of get the pity party thing going on. But then Chris, my camera guy, my brother, reminded me I have so much to be thankful for, and that verse is what really came to mind. You know, I just want to encourage you to look around you and really count your blessings. We all have, some have more, some have different, but we all have things to be thankful for. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you had a good time. I know I did, and that old big one just makes my day. I hope that you learned enough that you can go out here on Chickamauga, have an awesome time, catch some big bass. Barry's gonna be back with you next week. Until then, I'm Chris Pampali. God bless you.